Hello everyone, welcome to Nareen's with MS. This is Nareen and it's time for What MS Taught Me. So, this week on What MS Taught Me, I did want to discuss something that I talked about before, which of course is the MS fatigue. The reason I want to talk about this is because I think I did see at least on my YouTube feed, that there was something released by a much bigger MS awareness YouTube channel regarding fatigue and how fatigue pretty much works in MS. Of course, one of the things is it does differ vastly between people, but of course, one thing is definitely similar. One thing that does happen with a lot of people is the fact that there is a tendency to pretty much lose your energy very quickly if you do not plan to use your energy very well. So, with that said, of course, I did want to discuss something different because I know this was probably one of the first topics that I actually discussed on my channel. One thing that I did want to discuss is, of course, um, recovering the fatigue, or recovering from the fatigue once it actually strikes you. Now, I generally do tend to have certain sources of fatigue that, do get me tired to like some extent. Of course, one thing that becomes very easy is, going to the gym, especially on days where I have to do certain exercises that make me a little more tired than general. So, for example, let's say going to the gym for walking or endurance, or even doing something with my lower body with my lower body, such as lower body strength training. um, so those are some of the things that do end up getting me a little more tired than usual. Although other things that can get me a little tired also include things like going to the office, for example. Maybe going outside, sometimes even going to certain um, engaging in certain outdoor activities, going to restaurants. These things can also tire me out. Here are a couple of things that I have found over the years actually do help me in recovery from help me in recovery from getting from at least getting a little bit of energy back. Now, one of the things I do want to say before I actually start listing off some of the things that I do is that the you know unfortunately, none of the things that I will share, none of the practices that I will share actually do return all of your energy back. Unfortunately, one of the only ways that I know that I can recover all of my energy is, of course, to sleep and have a proper sleep that lasts a good number of hours, like 8 hours, right? So, but of course, there are certain circumstances where you will need just a little bit of energy to make sure that you can maybe get home. A lot of times, especially when I was younger and I would end up traveling, um, you know, independently, and having to come back, there were certain things that I would do that would just give me the little bit of energy boost that I would need to be able to come back home, so that I could take much longer, much more of a well deserved rest that could replenish my energy. So one thing that I do want, and of course, everything that I do say, um, do test it out as to which one works better for you versus which ones don't, because as with um, all of us being humans and being unique, the same holds true for MS patients, that certain things do end up working a little better than others, especially when it comes down to how they can be effective. So with that said, let's start it with the first one that I think becomes the easiest thing, which is of course to get hydrated, right? One thing that does end up happening when you do experience quite a bit of fatigue is you might notice there is a little um, more sweating happening from your end. um, this is something that I notice, that I unnaturally sweat, especially when I am approaching sort of the limit of fatigue, and as a result I do realize that I do need to replenish my fluids. Now there's two ways to go about it. Of course, you can always drink water. Water happens to be one of the best things to drink, but of course, one thing that I do also want to share is, if let's say there has been quite a bit of time since your previous meal, I would say it's better to probably have an electrolyte drink, something like Gatorade, something like, or even something that has a little bit of sugar in it, so that like like for example juices, so that you also get a little bit of sugar as a result. Now one of the things with sugar is that yes, the crash also does happen after a little bit of time, but of course, when you do need that little bit of extra energy, just so you can cross that finish line, or just so you can get home in time, I would say go ahead and you know take that little drink, sugary drink, so that you have that little bit of energy working out for you. So that is my first one that I would say. My second um, piece of advice that I would give you is find a place to sit down or relax in one way or another. Now the reason I say sit down or relax is because while a lot of people might actually find a way to recuperate a little bit of energy from just sitting down, other people, including me, um, you know do find that sitting down does not recover enough energy, and so we do need lying down sometimes. This tends to happen with me quite often. One thing that does happen is, say I've had a late night, and so I haven't slept enough and I do feel fatigue coming for me. I will go to sleep for just about 20 minutes, and that does end up recovering quite a bit of energy, so that I have the ability to power through the day. Now again, I think I've mentioned this before, and I'm glad that I'm revisiting this, because there might have been changes since the last time that I actually discussed any of these things. But that is one thing that I also do, so that I can get back a little bit of energy. A third thing that I end up doing, if let's say that I am feeling very drained, is generally related to how warm I'm feeling. It also depends on what the weather is like, because considering that it is at least summertime here, temperatures do tend to be on the higher end. Even though this, I would say Bangalore is definitely one of the places which is uh, has probably the most agreeable weather in all of India. But with that said, of course, one thing that especially in the warmer months, one thing that I do to also get a little bit of energy back is, of course, take a cold shower, right? As you know, I don't take warm showers. I usually only take cold showers. So, this is for me at least, I would just tell myself to take a shower. Now, there are certain benefits to this. One is, of course, the cold water should wake you up. A second thing is also cold water will definitely help reduce inflammation, which does tend to be a case when, does tend to happen when you are experiencing fatigue, right? You will notice that your legs are moving slower, that they are twisting, and that you definitely do need just to pull your body down a little bit. Um, Another thing I would, of course, say is that if there is no shower nearby, maybe you are in the office, I would say you can definitely go into, you can definitely go to the restroom and just um, cool yourself off by washing, just putting your hands in cold water for a little bit of time, right? You can just turn on the faucet, just have it run for about 30 seconds so that you can and just put, especially try to target keeping this part under the water, so that because as you can see there are some veins that are right under the skin, and these veins actually do end up getting a little cooler, and so the blood in it does end up getting a little cooler, and it will actually make you feel a little bit colder, and that can also help you out in those cases. And of course, getting getting on to the fourth point, which is actually very similar to this third point, is if you are, let's say, in a room that is closed off, you can always turn on the air conditioning, right? Of course, this is something that I would say, that I would suggest you do, especially when it is warm, and also when um, you do have water nearby, because one thing to of course know is that while the air conditioning can make the room feel colder, it can make you also feel a little better, so that you can actually feel a little more recovery happening. Is that the air conditioning might also, because the air conditioning does lower the humidity of a room, it you do definitely need to hydrate during that time. So that is of course the fourth little helpful hint that I have for myself, especially when I do feel the fatigue setting in. And of course, a fifth one, just because ending this list off at 4 points is a little weird. So the fifth point that I do have to at least help myself when it comes to fatigue is, of course, to give myself a little bit of massage. Right now, how does this help? Well, first of all, one thing that does tend to happen when I do feel a little more fatigued is that I will feel a little more cramping or a little more pain happening on the soles of my feet. What this pretty much means is, as a result of maybe walking a little extra or walking a little more than I am used to, um, will cause my legs to um, maybe cramp up. A lot of times, what ends up happening is that my toes will curl up, and as a result, there will be a lot of pressure that are going to be placed on those joints. So, when that does end up happening, say I'm in the office, I will definitely take off my shoes, and so with my with my socks still on my feet, I will definitely give my foot a short massage so that it will alleviate some of the stress that my foot is experiencing at that point in time. Of course, when I'm at home, I'm usually barefoot, so it becomes a little bit easier to just massage my feet, especially in the places where I am experiencing a little more cramping and a little more pain, so that it does happen. And like I did with my previous little helpful hint, this one as well, one thing that I do end up doing is, if I can add it with something else, like you know um, adding my shower next to it, so having a shower and then massaging my um, feet, does end up also giving, it actually adds on to the benefit that I am getting from, just this recovery that I'm conducting. So there is, of course, 5 different tidbits that do help me. And if you are someone with MS or any other autoimmune condition where you are experiencing a lot of fatigue, do try and see if any of these do work for you, right? So again, to recap, the first thing you want to do is, of course, hydrate, or definitely fill yourself up with electrolytes so that you can get a little bit of quick energy to help you out. The second thing to do is, of course, take a shower, um, and the way that ends up working, or sorry, the second one is, of course, take a seat, or better yet, if you have the ability to lie down, do lie down for a little bit so that you can recuperate a little bit of energy to help you out. The third thing to do is, of course, take a cold shower, or just run your hand under some cold water so that you feel a little bit cool. This especially works when you are when it is summertime and you do need that little bit of cooling factor to work with you. Then the fourth thing, of course, is to turn on the air conditioning. The reason for that is, of course, when you are feeling cooler, one thing you will note is your joints will hurt less. And of course, the fifth one that I do have is, if you are feeling fatigued as a result of walking around a lot, especially, you can give yourself a little foot rub, right? Just make it so that it becomes a little bit easier for you to walk around. And you can, of course, target the areas of your feet which are hurting a little bit more or are cramping, so that there is a little bit of stress that you can relieve in those areas. So with that said, those are my 5 tips to actually help in terms of when you experience fatigue. But of course, here I do want to turn it over to you as to, if you do also experience fatigue, what are some of the things that you do to give yourself that little bit of energy in a pinch, so that you can pretty much go back to a place where you are a little safer, definitely a place like home, so that you can definitely put your legs up and actually work on the proper ways to recover from the fatigue. So yes, please do share your thoughts, please do share your insights, please do share your experiences as to what works and what does not work, so that we can get a conversation started, and I actually also get a few more tips onto how to best deal with my fatigue. But with that said, of course, considering it is late night, here I am wishing you a good night, sweet dreams, and of course I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.